the Tuesday, 19th of December, 2023 episode of the Greenwich, a Town for All Seasons Show podcast, where we connect you to the history of the town of Greenwich, Connecticut. I'm Jeffery Bingham Mead, your host. I'm a direct descendant of the 17th century founders of the town of Greenwich, Connecticut, and it's my pleasure to welcome you. The Greenwich Historical Society's library and archives are located at 47 Strickland Road in Coscob, on the grounds of the Bush Holly House headquarters. The Society continuously collects, catalogs, and preserves tens of thousands of historical documents relating to life in Greenwich, Connecticut. Last week, I stopped by to meet with Christopher Shields, curator of library and archives. Here is our conversation. Christopher Shields, I want to thank you very, very much for meeting with me here in the Greenwich Historical Society archives. This is a very, very special place. So let's get down to it. What is the core mission of Greenwich Historical Society's library and archives?
Well, we collect documentation, primarily primary source documentation, and we want to use that to connect people to their community's past and help them to better understand where they live and put history into context so they have a better understanding of the present day. And we are always surprised at the variety of questions that we receive from people. We have a very diverse collection that can answer a lot of different questions. So it's always interesting, and I'm always learning something new from the questions that we receive.
And indeed, the rest of us get to learn a lot of new things about the history of the town of Greenwich, Connecticut. So we are very grateful for that. Now, what does the library and the archives that we are sitting in right now consist of?
Well, we have, obviously, in the library, we have a lot of books dealing with the town and the state of Connecticut and the Coscob Art Colony and decorative arts and architecture. In terms of the library and archives, we have probably the two most commonly referenced things are maps and photographs. We receive the most research inquiries related to people interested in their home or community, or people who are doing research on their family history. And the maps and the photographs are helpful for both of those things.
Oh, right.
But we also have extensive manuscript collections, ledgers, journals, scrapbooks. We have organizational records of clubs and businesses that did business in town over the years. So I think you get a sense, basically from that description of just how diverse a collection that we have, and that even if we can't 100% answer somebody's question, we can usually get them further along in their research.
The Historical Society, the Archives and Library, you do provide some research services. So describe those research services for me and the audience as well. And how does one submit a request?
The best way to submit a request is to go to our website, and you'll see at the top of the page it says Library and Archives. There's a submenu under that says Research Services, and if you click on that, you can fill out a form that describes what you're looking for. So the way we work is we provide up to an hour of research without charge, and we basically do a kind of like a survey of what types of information we may have in the collection that could be responsive to somebody's question. If it goes over an hour, then we charge. You get a discount if you're a member, so it makes sense to become a member. Or you can send an email or make a telephone call and leave a message for me. I'm easy to reach, and if you have a research question, please reach out, and I'll be happy to get back to you.
Now, we are all in the internet age, as we would like to call it, the digital age. One of the things that I like to explore on the Historical Society's website, which is greenwichhistory.org, are the digital archives. And so I wanted to know if you could spend a moment or two or more talking to us about the digital archives and how can the public access those.
The digital archives is kind of exciting. We recently completed a grant, a 3-year grant project that allowed us to digitize and catalog pretty much our full Greenwich photograph collection, as well as some images from our real estate collections. That allowed us to add a lot of content to our what we call our digital collections portal, which is accessible via our website. So that's a great place to start. You can, like I said, it's cataloged, so you can do a full text search. You can search for a name. You can search for a street address or an organization, and you can see what we have. We also have what I consider our digital archives. We have our library catalog for our research library that's fully described, and you can see what books or magazines or periodicals that we might have that's responsive. And also very important, we have a finding aid section. Now, what a finding aid is it's a tool for understanding what is inside a particular collection. So it usually provides some context, a little overview, either a biographical overview or information about an organization or business, just to put the contents of the collection into some historical context. And then you can use that collection to see what particular series or even folder may have information that you'd be interested in looking at if you came into the archives. And then we also have the John Henry Twachtman Catalog Raisonné that we host on our digital archives page, so that if you were interested in exploring more of his artistic output, this is a fantastic resource. It's pretty much the definitive resource for his work. And that's also accessible under the Library and Archives section on our website.
I have found the finding aid section to be very, very valuable. It really has been, yes. And so, yes, we have a guest researcher here who is on the other side of the room with her thumbs up and. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yes.
She is the finding aid.
You are the finding aids author. All right. You know what? I will come back and we will have to have you on my little Greenwich history podcast. There are a lot of people that will maybe not worship the ground that you walk on, but they will come very, very close to it, I think. So we'll see. Anything to make the journey into researching our past a little bit more helpful.
And I should say, we encourage, the digital archives are great, but we do encourage people to come and experience the collections in person. Because, I think, it's great to have a digital representation of something, but you get a different experience when you actually see something and handle it up close. So.
Oh, yes. I would actually concur with that. I really do. I was here when, on the board, in fact, when we had the original archives building here and all that. And just to be immersed in all of that was just such an amazing experience. So thank you for that reminder of that. So we encourage people to come here to the Greenwich Historical Society's archives. Now, I wanted to tell you, because recently, and this was on the Halloween Day podcast, that we had that story about the cemetery, Putnam Cemetery, and you and I and John Bridge were going back and forth on emails and things like that with a lot of incredible things about that, which I found quite a lot of it to be quite new to me. And so I wanted to know if you would just spend maybe a couple of moments describing some of the more colorful requests that you have received in terms of researching aspects of the
where the
town's
colorful comes in sometimes is in what somebody may ask a question and maybe not be fully prepared for the answer.
Oh, yes.
So, that can come in, if somebody's doing genealogical research, they may discover something that was unexpected, or if somebody's doing property research, they may discover something perhaps disturbing about the home that they live in, or what happened there. I always feel kind of a little conflicted, because I don't mean, like when somebody asks a question, I want to provide them with the information.
Sure.
But you have to realize that when you're doing this kind of research, you in a sense can be opening up a can of worms, and you kind of have to be prepared on some level as to, you have to be prepared for some surprises.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's what we've discovered.
Okay. Yes, there are always interesting surprises, and I have to admit, and then we'll round up with one or two more questions before we close. But one of the things in the production and the research I do for this podcast is one of the things that I have found quite interesting has been what the town was like during Prohibition. And there are all sorts of very surprising stories about hidden speakeasies. In fact, I think that the number of bars and things, illicit behavior and things like that actually went up in Greenwich during Prohibition. I would like to ask, if I could, please, I would love to see some kind of an exhibition about what Greenwich was like during Prohibition. I think that a lot of people, I think it would be very entertaining at the very, very least. to see.
And from what I can tell, there are, like you said, there are plenty of stories that, especially the coverage that a lot of these things received in the local newspaper.
Oh, yes.
Not so secret, it seems.
Not so secret. I think people pinched their noses and looked the other way, but they knew what was really, really going on. All right, now as we start to close, first of all, tell us what your hours are, what your contact information is, and finally, what can the public out there do to support you and the staff here and making this wonderful facility, the Greenwich Historical Society's Library and Archive, available to everybody?
I think the main thing is becoming a member of the Greenwich Historical Society. That's so important to us because it shows that you're committed to the organization and understanding and preserving Greenwich history. Mm-hmm. And it's also incredibly useful when we go out to potential funders, either people who are making private donations. Oh, yeah. Or granting opportunities to show that we have a lot of people who are committed enough to become members. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing you can do. Oh, yeah. The next thing is obviously always reach out to us. We love to hear from the community. Any kind of recommendations that you may have. You never know, like for an exhibition or a topic that you would like to explore either yourself or you think it would be ripe for us to explore. We like to be, we don't want to be the ones generating all the ideas. We want it to come from the community to the Historical Society. And then as far as when the Library and Archives is open, we have what we call our Public Archives Day. Wednesdays from 10 to 4. It's usually helpful if you can get in touch with me and just let me know what you're interested in so I can do a little research in advance and make your time here a little more productive. And also, if Wednesday doesn't work for you, you can get in touch with me either by email or telephone or that research request form, and we can set up another appointment time for you to come in and we can talk.
Well, Christopher Shields, you are the archivist of the Greenwich Historical Society. You and everybody here, you're all doing a fantastic job. Thank you. And we are very, very grateful. And again, folks, you can learn more by going to greenwichhistory.org. Thank you, Christopher, for spending some time with me today.
Thank you for meeting with me. I appreciate it.